Good morning, and welcome to Unraveled Gaming. A couple of weeks ago, someone had asked on Board Game Atlas, what is the most underrated game or a game that just doesn't get quite as much love as other games. Um, and the one that came to mind for me was Founders of Gloomhaven. I hadn't played it in a while, but it just popped into my head. It's one of those games that sits on my shelf. It doesn't get a lot of play, but um, it's mainly because it's pretty heavy, and my family doesn't like the heavy games quite as much as I do. But I thought I would get the solo version set up and do a walkthrough. Okay, so we've got three sections of the board. There is a victory track around the outside, but we are not going to use that for solo versions because you really only need the victory points for the purposes of multiplayer. And then I chose the Vermlings. Um, I just thought their personal ability would be helpful in a game, building a personal building connected to a wood resource at 2 less cost, because money gets tight at the beginning of the game until you get enough resources out. Um, you you essentially have in the solo version 4 actions that you can take. You do have 5 because you have a call to vote, but that's sort of the last action in every round. And I'm going to go into a little bit more detail once we get there. So you have a construction action, you have a recruit, a trade, and an upgrade. And I think what we'll do is we'll explain as we go. So for the Vermlings, I get wood. That is my resource I get to start with. So I could probably just take the wood and put it down here by the Vermlings. That's going to be a good starting point. Now for resources, we have all of these basic resources. And then we have tier 2 resources that cost 4 to put out, and tier 3 resources that cost 6 to put out. All these other buildings you see here, those are the prestige buildings, and we'll see what happens with those once we do the call to vote. And then we also have our recruits here. I forgot to draw, so let's do that. And these recruits are going to cost, based on, I'll have to pay either 1 or 2, and as I purchase them, they'll slide over. But I have to have the resource down here on the bottom left. If I don't have that resource, I can't get the recruits. So when I start the game here, I will get to put my wood out on the board at some location. So I'm not going to go to great lengths trying to make it perfect this time. I'm just going to put that there, and then I will mark that I have wood out. And the main reason I mark it is so I can count those markers very easily. That way I start the game with an income of 1. But I don't have to pay for that. That's my starting resource. Now, so each round, I'm going to play one of these cards. I'm going to try to hold this camera so you can kind of see things. I recorded, 2 or 3 playthroughs, and I had the camera on the tripod, and it was just kind of hard to figure out how to do it well. And I'm gonna try to do it relatively quick because you probably don't want to see all my thinking, but I just wanted to show an example of a turn structure and sort of how it works. So I'm gonna go ahead and trade with my first action, and I have to pay what I have to pay based on what kind of land I put it on. So there are 2 types that would cost me 3. There's 1 that would cost me 2, and there's the red land that would cost me 1. So if you look at the different parts of the board, this gray area and the green area, that cost me 3. If I'm on the coast, that would cost me 2, and if I play it in the red land, that will cost me 1. So obviously I want to do one. This is a little resource board here. I already have a wood, so I can put that there. And one of the things I like to look at before is to figure out, okay, this prestige building is going to be free for me. At the end of the round, if I get this one, I'm going to have to pay 2 fleeting influence. And if I want to get this one, I'm going to have to pay 2 lasting influence. I usually try to go for the free one. And I can see that wood and food and stone are resources that will feed it. Well, I know as soon as this comes out, pretty much it's going to get fed by wood if I'm doing everything reasonably well. So I'm going to go ahead and look at the next one, food, because this will be the next free one that comes out that I can work with. So we've got food and uh, gems and engineering. So, well, that's a good question. So I might just look at this other one here. Wood's going to feed that one. Don't have to worry about that. And then it's got 2 higher level, 2 tier 3 resources. So, and then sometimes it's good to come back over here and see how these connect. So those 3 tier 3 resources that I'll need are going to require engineering, which we're going to require that, and they're going to require livestock for the cloth, and then this one will require population, and then food, and then uh, crops. So it looks like crops are probably going to be the next thing I want. So I'm going to go get my crops, and I am going to put it on the board here. I have to pay 1, and oh, you know what I forgot? You don't know what I forgot because I'm doing the rules. I can't do that yet. The reason I can't do that yet is because you have to connect your resources via roads. I can't put them next to each other. None of my resources can touch each other. And that's where you get into some of the finickiness of the rules. Really, all the buildings and things you own pretty much operate the same, but it's the way the rules are written. It's kind of hard to understand. So essentially, your buildings can't touch each other for the most part, except for bridges. So I need some more cards. Oh, that's right. I do not have. I'm going to have to put food out. So this is going to be. This is interesting. I don't think I'm going to build a personal building. So we're going to use it for a basic action. Now, a basic action. What a basic action does is I can play this turned over, and I can either gain a coin, get a fleeting influence, build a road, or I could use, if I had a one of my meeples available, I can't get those until I build a house. Then I could use it to play an action either on my board, or if I had a prestige building out, they have actions on them. As long as there's a good delivered, you can use it. I'm going to use that for a road so that I can put this on the board, and now I can pay my 1 coin, and I can put this out. So that is going to mean that I have food now, and it means I've also played this card because I put it on a red. That's why it was 1. All right, but now I have food, so I can play my prestige, because since I have food, I could get this guy, which I'm going to do. So what that gives me is, on that card, you get recruit an advisor, and you gain 1 fleeting influence. And you might notice I'm not using the bottom of the cards, and that's because that's really only for multiplayer. You don't use the bottom of these cards otherwise. So in all of these recruits, all they do is give you the option of doing actions that are the same 4 actions you're normally doing. They're just doing them with a few. You could say they're doing them better. They give you something for doing them. A lot of times you want to get some of these cards when you're playing solo, because it's hard to get these resources out at the beginning of the game, and you really gotta kind of work at um, getting them out there efficiently, so that things are connected. Now I know my first building is going to have wood connected to it. Not too worried about that. So I've got myself covered for that one. And when this building slides over, I've got myself covered for that because I already have food out. So I'm really just sort of thinking, how can I build for the future and set myself up? I've also got my Vermling resource, anything connected to a wood structure. So I should be okay. Um, I could use that. I don't have anything. I could upgrade and get food. That wouldn't hurt because then I'd already have it out. So, and one thing I forgot to do is income, now that I have 2 resources, goes up to 2. I'm going to need money though. I know that. And one of the things you got to be careful of, like if I build food, food is going to feed both of these, and then I'll have to build rocks to get that covered. And I'd really rather build food next round where it will then feed it one per round. That's kind of what you want, is 1 resource per round generally. Otherwise, you put yourself in a position where you have to build faster than you want to. Um, Build a personal building and gain a temporary retail shown. This is not what I want, um, but it's not terrible, and it gives me the option of getting one of my houses out. I just hate to lose a a guy so quick, but I'm trying to do this quick, and I think what I'm actually going to use is I don't like having these cards flipped over front and back. I don't necessarily need to keep up with my actions per se. So I'm just going to build more road. I know when I build a house, it has to be connected via roads, but can't be touching anything that I already own. So I don't want that to be the case. I already played that card. Um, and so I think with this one, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to go ahead and build another road, because you find pretty quickly that what you need in this game is roads. And what I'm essentially trying to do is see if I can connect these resources. I'll end up building a bridge over here and probably end up trying to build a gate over here and get everything connected. That way you have one of every resource and it all connects. You're not building 2 of resources necessarily, and you never have to buy access to other people's resources like you would in multiplayer, because you own all the resources in single player. Okay, so call to vote. Well, this is one of the very odd ways the rules is written. It doesn't really, it's not very helpful, I'll be honest. So the first thing I would do is look on the board. Do I have any prestige buildings out that have? I use these as neutral token markers, even though they're fleeting influence. But when I put a prestige building out, I'll have to put one of these on it right away. If I have any of these on prestige buildings that I haven't been able to remove, I have to pay however many lasting influence are here for each of these on the board. So right now, because there's only 2 there, I would pay 2 for each of these on the board. Well, we just started. There's none on the board. So that's the first thing I check. There are none on the board. Now I come back over here and I can pick one of these buildings and pay whatever influence I need to pay for it. All I have is fleeting influence. Oh, right. And when I got that guy, I was also supposed to get a lasting influence. I forgot to do that. So we're going to get 1 lasting influence just so I have it on the board. And the fleeting influence, I'm not actually using it this round, so it's going to go away. Fleeting influence does not last. And I got to find a place to put this on the board. And I want it to be connected to stuff via roads, such that it gets fed the supplies that it needs. So, or at least 1 supply, because as soon as you put that on the board, I immediately put a fleeting influence. Now, that disappears whenever I deliver something, and I can do a check. Now, this is another section. At this point, I could, if I choose, um, if I had played my call to vote and I still had cards in my hand, let's say I had 2 cards in my hand, and I played my call to vote, then at this point I can discard these 2 cards that remained in my hand and do basic actions with them. So if I didn't have roads, then I could now put some roads out, or I could gain a couple coins or something of that nature. But I check, it is connected via the roads to the wood, so we know that the wood resource is good. So we're going to put that there. And so that takes off that lasting, or not it's called a neutral claim token. So it takes it off. So if you ever can't pay for all of those that are on the board, game lost. Solo game is about getting all of the resources out, getting 7 prestige buildings built and all the supplies delivered, and not having to pay, or not being unable to pay for a prestige building. So that one is out. I have a good delivered to it. So I bring that over to this side of the board, and I could use this action if I have a meeple to use it. So that gives me $1 for each basic resource tile adjacent to this tile. So right now I have 1 basic resource adjacent to that tile, and I could, you know what I'm going to do is actually I'm going to put this up here because I have potential to get another basic resource adjacent to that tile and make that ability worthwhile. So I've gotten rid of, I've got 1 prestige building out. So we're going to move this here and there. And these are 2-sided cards, these prestige buildings, so you draw from the bottom and flip that over. And then I like to find the prestige building that, oh, there's another piece here I forgot to mention. Since these 2 prestige buildings are the same color and same shape, we draw another one, because you can't have 2, or you're not supposed to have 2 that are the same color and shape. So instead we get the Archer's Garrison. That's the Soldier's Garrison. There's the Archer's Garrison. So we'll get the Archer's Garrison, put that out, and now this one will be free next round. And that's usually in solo. I try to do the free ones. So the other thing I get is I have 2 resources out there, so I get 2 coins for my income, and I get my cards back. So there we go. That is round. That's 1 round. I'm going to go ahead and try to show you a second round, and let's see. I know we are probably going to try to get another resource out, but we need to be thinking down the road. Don't want gems, because that would give 2 resources in 1 turn to a thing, and I don't want to do that. That's going to get wood when it comes out, but both of these can utilize, this is a tier 3 resource, and so if we come over here, we know that well, we're going to want to give food to this one in this next round if possible. So if I get food built, then I will be able to do that eventually in a future turn, because I'll have food. All I'll need is population to do the engineering. So, or construction, I guess is what that is. So I think population is going to be my basic resource that I want. So I'm going to play that one, and we have to pay 1, and then we'll go up here and get population, and I want to put it next to this one. Now it's got to be connected, and connections are, they are all directions, so that even these corners connect, so it is connected to that road if it's touching that corner. It's one of the things that makes it hard about placing stuff, because it can't be touching anything you own. And I don't own a prestige building, it's just a prestige building, but I can't be touching any of my other things that I own. The exception would be a bridge or a gate. Can be touching those things. They're basically like roads that I own and no one else can use. So I do that, indicate that I have population over here, and I paid my 1, and I get another, my income goes up. So we've done that. Now I kind of also want to try to do the food. The catch is going to be, where am I going to put it? And I kind of want to build a house too. So I don't know if I can actually do both. I might need, well, here's the thing. With food, I get to build, if I build a secondary resource, that's what this card is, I can build a road with it. So I think I'm going to do that first, because we definitely want to get food built this round. This is a, this is the tricky thing, because if I build it right now, I will immediately deliver a good to this. And then when that call to vote comes, it'll get one of those neutral claim tokens on it. But then I'd have to build stone the next round to get it completely done, which isn't impossible, but I'd rather deliver one good per round if possible. So you might be saying, well, I don't understand. Why is that so bad? Well, the thing is, if I deliver food right now, then what happens is then it's the stone it's dependent on. So I really don't want to deliver food to it yet. I want it to happen at the end, at the call to vote. So how are we going to do that? Well, one, we can build the road before or after. It does have to be connected to a resource I own, but if I put the road here, then, and I put food connected to this, goods don't travel through tiles. So they only travel through roads. And so I can put that there, and then I can get the food token up here, and I can orient this. I'm kind of wanting to put it decently far away. So we're going to do, well, the other thing is I might want, I don't want it touching my stuff, but I kind of want it to not make it hard for me to move other stuff. So we're going to do that. And we put that on. We get a 4. There we go. And we have to pay 4 for that. So that's that. So now we've done that. Now we're down to 3 coins, which is not very many coins. Okay, let's pretend for a second I didn't do that. I just thought of something. Before I do that, I'm going to play this card. And we're going to pretend that I did not do that thing that I just did. We can build a personal structure at -1 the cost. We want to do that. So I am going to build a house for 3. And I'm going to put it, I'll put it there. Can't be touching anything, but it has to be connected to things I own. So I've got my house out there. Why did I do that? Well, because it unlocks this. I have this meeple here, and I want to use him to build. Oh, it's a personal building connected to a words resource. Okay, so never mind. I was thinking I could build this for cheaper, but I couldn't. We could have just built that. Actually, building this in the future would be cheaper. But for this round, it takes all of our money. So it did not help me the way I thought it would, but it will in the future, and it does give me one of these guys, and I might be able to use him. So, in fact, I can use him because we've delivered wood to this. So for each basic resource tile connected adjacent to this, I can gain a coin, and there are 2, so that'll give me 2 coins. We'll do it. You do notice that the coins look like Gloomhaven coins. They're the same. So I I didn't take those from Gloomhaven. Those are the actual coins that come with Founders of Gloomhaven. All right, so now we have our call to vote and our ringleader, and we've got population out there and food and wood. The only person we could recruit is this one for wood. So this is where it gets to some tough choices because I could pay 2 to get another person out there, but I'm not sure I want to. I think our turns are set up the way we want right now, so I think what I'll do is I'm going to do my call to vote. Remember, I have these cards. So, call to vote, look on the board. No prestige buildings that have any things on them. So now I come over here and I look at the prestige buildings, and actually, yeah, I get a prestige building. I'm going to get the free one, and I put it out on the table somewhere. So the question is, where do we want to put it? Now, I want it to be, I can have them touching other things. So this one is not so bad. If I put it right, oh, and this one has to, one of the things with prestige buildings is up in the top right corner, it shows the land it has to be on. So this one has to be touching the coast. That's a requirement for this one. So as long as one part of it is on a coast tile, then we're good. And like this has a little bit of coast, and that does, and that does. So I count those as coast tiles. It actually, maybe it's supposed to be these that are fully. So I'll treat it as if it's got to be on a fully revealed one. And we'll do that. We'll put that there. Then before any goods are delivered, you put a neutral claim token on every prestige building. So boom. Now we come over here, and I had 2 cards left. So I'm going to discard those, and at least one is going to be for a road, which I'm going to drop in here. Now the question is, what do I want that second one? Well, I think I'm going to need money, so I'm actually going to get a coin with the second basic action. And now we look, oh, what has a good? Well, food is being delivered here. And so we get rid of that neutral claim token. And food is being delivered here, or rather crops are being delivered there, so we can get rid of that neutral claim token. And now we don't have to pay anything. And we've got 4 income, so we'll get our 3-4 income. I'm not doing too bad on money. We also get, because we had a house built, we get a fleeting influence for this round. And we come over here and we would shift these buildings, but I just wanted to show a couple rounds. Basically, you are going to rinse and repeat these rounds. As you get more recruits, you'll have more cards in your hand. The one catch being that you saw me use my recruit for the basic action on the back, in which case I don't lose it. But in solo play, it doesn't work this way in multiplayer. Multiplayer, you keep these throughout the game. But in solo player, if I use his ability, in this case, I build a personal building and then gain 1 temporary influence for each house I own. So right now I own 1 house. But if I used him now, I'd own 2 houses because he would probably build me, well, it could be a bridge or something, but if I use him, he is discarded from the game, and I cannot use him anymore. So there's sort of this, especially at the beginning of the game, like you want to get some of these so that you can build some more roads and maybe get coins when you need them. Or perhaps you would need a fleeting influence if you're trying to go after one of the buildings. 2 fleeting influence equal 1 lasting influence, so there's a little bit of a translation there. But yeah, it's very, that's how that works, and you would do that until you've either delivered all the goods to all the resources or it doesn't work. So that is Founders of Gloomhaven. I think I touched on all the basic rules. It's almost like a little puzzle trying to figure out if you can get all these things delivered for the solo version. So it's kind of a fun sit down. I would say probably an hour and a half to fully play out the solo version and work through the puzzle of can I get all these goods connected efficiently. The other thing to realize is once you get a new prestige building out, you have a new ability that you can put your meeple on each turn. So this one is pay $1 to perform the action of any other prestige building connected to this tile. That's not a bad one. Some of the prestige buildings abilities are not helpful at all because they really involve multiplayer, but quite a few of them, like the crooked bone, they work pretty well. And that's Founders. Uh, Please post comments. I'm curious to hear what folks think about this game. I think people tended to expect Gloomhaven when they picked up the game and were looking for a game like that. And they were probably disappointed because obviously you can see this is nothing like Gloomhaven. But I think it is underrated. In a multiplayer game, there's like a trickle down point economy, but it's pretty good. So wrap up here. Yeah, I don't think the way the rules are written for Founders makes it hard to. It just takes a lot of reading and rereading, in my opinion. Um, it may be because I'm just not terribly bright, but it took a lot of rereading and honestly playing through it several times before I feel like I really grasped how the points, the trickle down points and delivery of goods and all that really worked. But I think part of it's how it's written. It's written more complicated than it needs to be. Really, you just can't place things you own can't go next to other things you own. They have to be connected via roads. Um, and there's probably a little too much wordiness explaining all that. Uh, but with only really 4 basic actions, if you're playing a 3 and 4 player game, there's another card you add called an income card that allows you to get money a little more often during the game. Um, but I think the multiplayer would be pretty uh, enjoyable because there's sort of this entanglement of co-op trying to get resources placed functionally so that they can feed other resources and entangled with a competitive I'm trying to get the most victory points by getting the best resources delivered to um, the buildings, the prestige buildings. And I think that's I don't know, it seems a little unique compared to a lot of games um, where it's either all co-op or it's you're really just going all out trying to get the victory points. There's not as much hey, we have to work together a little bit on this in order to try to see who's the best. So it's like a trade mechanic. It's almost like Century Spice Road, but with a very different format, trying to deliver goods. Um, but yeah, if you've played this and maybe it sat on your shelf for a while and you get to pull it out and try it again, I'd be curious to hear what you think. If you haven't played it and you're just watching this video, I'd love to hear, you know, how did that look? Obviously, it's not Gloomhaven, but what did you think of that those play mechanics just based on the short video? Thanks for coming to Ungraveled Gaming today.